Greetings, ASA members. Let's talk money. We did just that in the Capital Times last week. I joined a group of business leaders on the editorial page as we advocated for increased revenue for education, and we pushed for revenue streams beyond an increase in sales tax. You can read the entire article in the link attached to this message. Speaking of money, the national education publication Ed Week issued its annual rankings of state school systems. Now, these rankings are based on 3 criteria. The Chance for Success Index evaluates educational related opportunities throughout an individual's life from cradle to career. That's the first criteria. Secondly, the school finance analysis gauges spending on education and how equitably that spending is spread throughout various districts in the state. And thirdly, the K-12 Achievement Index grades states on current academic results and poverty-based gaps. The number 1 state was a surprise this year, New Jersey, which edged out traditional number 1 Massachusetts, although Massachusetts remained tops in the Achievement Index. I know you're thinking, what about Arizona? Is it good news? No, it's not good news. This year, Arizona finished 46th. Well, that was better than a recent 48th finish. We upped our game to 46th among the 50 states and District of Columbia with an overall score of 69.1 out of 100 points. And yes, that's a grade of D+. Now the nation as a whole averaged a grade of C. Diving into these findings, and that's diving as in going down, looking at the 3 graded indices, we earned a grade of C on the Chance for Success Index. What about school finance? Well, let's dive down further. We received a D- on the School Finance Index, 47th out of 50. For K-12 achievement, we went up. We were 29th for a grade of C-. So think about that for a second. The investment in index in Arizona was a D-. The achievement of the schools was a C-. So think about this question. What would happen if we actually invested at a level of C? Think what the achievement could possibly be then. The average state earns a grade of C in both school finance and achievement. If you want to read more about the entire report and how we fared, the link is included in this message. Now let's move on to the State Board of Education and recent discussion of teacher disciplinary action. Yes, usually teachers talk about discipline and disciplining students, but this is the State Board disciplining teachers. And actually, teacher misconduct has been, unfortunately, on the increase. What is that misconduct? Well, it's broken down into 5 categories. Even more unfortunately, 39% of teacher misconduct is sexual in nature. 24% is for substance abuse, drugs and alcohol. 14% is for assault. 12% is for breach of contract, teachers just walking out on their contract or leaving one district where they are contracted for another district, and 10% is for fraud. State Board of Education President Frank Narducci, in a recent editorial in the Arizona Republic, presents a proposal for solving some of this problem. He says, first, give the board the authority to investigate and take disciplinary action against student teachers, coaches, many of whom aren't actually certified teachers, and non-certified teachers, emergency certs, and so on. Secondly, he says, let's require all substitute teachers to receive the same training in these issues as regular teachers receive. Because frankly, the largest number of disciplinary actions involve substitute teachers. and yet we often don't train our substitute teachers in these issues. And many of them work at multiple schools. When suspicions arise at one school, then they're often working at another school, and sometimes it takes a while for it all to catch up. Thirdly, he says, let's prohibit all schools from hiring any certified educator with a suspended certificate. You might say, who hires a teacher with a suspended certificate? Well, there's a group of schools in this state who aren't required to hire certified teachers, and they teach 18% of our students. Finally, he says, let's share the state's investigative file with a hiring school. In other words, if a teacher's under investigation but hasn't yet lost his or her certificate, and they've applied in another school district, that district can't ask the state to share the details of the investigation. They can't get those details until they've actually hired the teacher. Yet, if they have those details, they might not hire the applicant. So that needs to have a change, and the legislature would have to make that change. You can read his complete editorial in the link attached to this message. Finally, let's talk about a few opportunities. The teacher misconduct I just mentioned. Do you need help handling it? Well, the Principal in the Law Conference, September 19th, has a session on dealing with teacher misconduct. Our Upslope discipline training for teachers and for employees is another place you could get that. There's a link in the message to our Upslope employee discipline training. Remember our Superintendent and Higher Ed Conference on September 29th through October 1st. Remember our unconference for secondary administrators. And finally, many of the things that I've talked about today involve legal issues. Think back to your training for administration. How many courses did you have that involved school law? Would that number be 1? Did some of you get trained and certified as an administrator with less than 1 course in school law? Well, many of us think that needs to change. All change, however, is incremental. The first step toward making that change is to find out what the need is. One of our members, Dr. Thomas Hughes of NAU, is conducting a survey on the need for legal education among administrators. You can take that survey by following the link on, yes, this message. Stay informed, participate in the research. You can do it now.